Hello, magical beings. Welcome. I'm happy you're here with me. I'm just going to give it a minute or two to see if anybody else wants to join us this evening. If you would like to share in the chat if you have a favorite herb or flower and how you use those, that would be lovely. You don't have to. Sorry, my dog just busted into my room. Full transparency, I have been ill, I have been sick, and I thought I was on the mend, and the cough has just kicked in so much over the last day and a half. I just loaded myself up with some of Raven and Dove's Vapor Rub. I have my herbal tea going on here. I'm hoping to get through without any coughing fits because they're not pretty. Just give it one more minute. I'll take a sip of my herbal tea. All right, so we have someone joining. Welcome, welcome. All right, so anybody that is joining that does not know who I am, my name is Michelle. I am the owner and creator for Raven and Dove Apothecary, and all of my items are handmade by me, and I use pure natural ingredients. I make healing salves, balms, sprays, intention candles with crystals. I make spiritual tools. I make spell bottles. I also make home cleansing elixirs with moon water and personal care items like all natural deodorant and things like that. I am also a Reiki master and a sound healer. So everything kind of comes in together in my products. I Reiki everything in my store. Absolutely everything gets Reiki'd before it gets sold, sent out. And it also is infused very much as I'm Reikiing it with intention. So whatever that item is for, I am really pouring a lot of intention into that product when I'm sending in the Reiki energy as well. Again, apologies, not feeling 100%. So I'm just going to do the best I can tonight. But if I'm a little bit fussy, it's just because I'm not feeling the greatest. All right. So I started this series called Michelle's Magic Hour to talk about everyday magic. And quite simply, to me, performing everyday magic is a way to pull my power back. In a world where we feel like there are a lot of things that we don't have a lot of control over, performing some everyday magic just helps me pull some of that control in. I get to direct my intention and I get to create rituals around that and support that energy through everyday magic. And that's why I'm here sharing it with you. I'm hoping that it can do the same for you as well. All right, so tonight we are talking about magical herbs and flowers. And I'm super excited about this because how much more every day can you get than reaching into your spice cabinet for a bottle of dried herbs or, adding a little dash of cinnamon to your morning coffee. That it does not get any more everyday than that. And it's that simple to create a little bit of magic and ritual using herbs, flowers, and I'm also going to include, I guess, spices in this as well, which is what cinnamon is. So I'm going to share a little presentation. I offer a lot of information, and so I like for you to be able to follow along as well. And the recording will be available afterwards, and I will also include the presentation as well. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. If you can't, just let me know. So tonight's installment of Michelle's Magic Hour, as I said, is magical herbs and flowers. Just a little bit of a disclaimer here. I am a certified and licensed holistic health practitioner, but the information in this presentation, in this class tonight, is purely informational. I am not diagnosing anything. I am not replacing any medical advice that you have received. This is, not an endorsement of everything that's listed within this presentation. I have done the research, but I am not guaranteeing that these herbs and these flowers are going to work in the way that it's presented in this presentation for you. As you know, everybody is completely personal and we all have, our own genetic makeup, but there's also medical conditions that may affect things, medications that you're on that may affect things. So just want to be very clear that whatever you receive here, I would love for you to take and do more research for if it connects with you. But you should definitely do that. And of course, always consult with your healthcare provider or your physician before you start taking anything new. I'm just going to let my dog out of my room. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. Okay, my husband did it. He heard me. All right. So I wanted to start by talking about the different ways that you can use herbs and flowers. There are a variety of different ways that we can be using it aside from what you're probably thinking of is the fresh and the dried, right? So you can go out to your garden and you can pluck and harvest some of those fresh herbs. You can buy them in the grocery store. That's one option. Dried herbs are a very, very economical way to be able to work with herbs. You can hold on to those for a longer time, obviously, than the fresh herbs. They're a lot easier to work with when you're doing things like dressing candles and that type of thing with it. Many of you have probably heard of it at a minimum of essential oils. Essential oils are just a really, really concentrated, it's taking the herb and it's really taking the essence of that in its really concentrated form. So whenever you're using essential oils, if you're diffusing it, you're putting it in with water in your diffuser. But if you're using it topically, you want to make sure that you're using a carrier oil. So whether that's coconut oil or avocado oil or any of those other sweet almond oil, any of those other ones, you want to make sure that you're diluting that essential oil a little bit because it is so strong and so concentrated. I'm actually going to switch over to the other side of the screen here with tinctures. So a tincture is when you take those dried herbs and you soak them with either a vodka or a brandy, maybe a vinegar or a glycerin if it's non-alcoholic. And it essentially just extracts those nutrients out of there. So people consume tinctures. This might be something that you're taking a little dropper full every day for yourself. An elixir is a tincture that's sweetened. So you would take that tincture and you would add some honey or another natural sweetener, and now you have an elixir. Infusions are when you take those oils and you infuse your dried herbs into it. So for example, my healing salve in the store, I start by infusing a variety of different oils actually with a variety of different herbs. And that's the base of the formula for it. So that's through infusion. Salves is then when you take that infusion and you put it together with some beeswax so that you can get the consistency of a salve where you can actually, kind of scoop it out and apply it. Think of a lip balm type thing. Next, we have decoctions. So this is when, usually this is reserved for like roots and barks. You may get like a tea mix from someplace, loose leaf tea mix that is made up mostly of bark and twigs and roots, that it asks you to kind of put into a saucepan with some water and steep that on heat. Sometimes it's also with cold. And that will, again, it's kind of like a tea, I guess, but you're heating it up at the same time to be able to extract the goodies from the herbs. And then if you take that decoction and you reduce it a little bit and you sweeten it, now you have a syrup. And the other thing that isn't showing on here, but it kind of falls under a lot of these, is an herbal tea where you're steeping the herbs in some hot water. And I'm going to pause to take a sip of my herbal tea. All right. So some of the everyday uses for your herbal magic are, we'll start up here with the little cosmetic jar, your salves, your balms, those types of things. When they're loaded with that herbal goodness, especially for medicinal purposes, you have your herbs packed in there. Tea is such a beautiful and easy way to connect with your herbs and to do so on an everyday basis. Infusing your water. When I grow my herbs in the summer, I absolutely love to just go out and pick a handful of different herbs, put them in with my water, maybe with some lemon or something like that, and let the water infuse with those beautiful herbs, especially like mints in the summer, a sweet mint or a spearmint into your water. So good. Cooking. Cooking is, of course, a very simple way to incorporate herb magic, flower magic into your everyday. You know, if you think about making yourself a soup when you're not feeling well and you're setting that intention of creating healing for you through this dish that you're lovingly preparing with ingredients from the earth, that is magic. You are performing magic when you are making that soup or that baked good that you're putting that extra love into because it's for somebody and you're gifting it to somebody. That's just a little bit of magic. One thing I'm not going to get into this presentation, but if you want to dive deeply into it, is that, you know, all of the plants, everything in the universe has all of the different connections with the planets and with, you know, feminine and masculine energy and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't get into it with this presentation, but if you wanted to dive into it, you could do that. Sachets, especially like a sleep pillow underneath your pillow, filled with herbs and other ingredients, crystals, or whatever you want to put in there to help support your sleep. My little black pot there is representative of a simmer pot. I actually had one going on my stove all day today. Simmer pot is taking, you know, some water, again, some herbs, some flowers, some other ingredients from your kitchen, putting them into the pot, setting your intention for them, and then allowing them to release themselves through the steam into your home to provide you with a little bit of magic. Essential oils are an easy way for you to, whether it's a roller ball that you're placing on your wrists, for maybe even like aroma, you know, or any of the other ways, diffusing it, which is up there as well. Great, easy way to use your herbs every day. Putting them into your bath. So as I mentioned, not feeling the best. I took a nice hot bath yesterday, and I actually took the herbal steam kit that I sell, which is made up of Epsom salts and a whole bunch of, you know, cold fighting herbs that help with the respiration system. And I put it into one of those like little reusable tea bags and dropped it into my tub, and I steeped myself in it yesterday. And I felt a lot better afterwards. Burning your herbs, whether it's through like a loose leaf incense or whether it's through a smudge stick like you see here, is another way to use your herbs. Spell bottles, which we are actually going to be getting into next month. That is our Michelle's Magic Hour for next month. And if you were with me last month for Candle Magic, we talked about dressing candles. So it's really just adding like another level of oomph and power to your candle magic by adding some herbs or flowers into either your candle or rolling your candle that has been anointed with some oil in the herbs before you burn it. Any questions before I move on? Okay, I just wanted to open up the chat. Okay. All right, I thought it would be so fun. So you've probably heard those like old-fashioned terms that were used for like spells. I know that one of them I heard of a lot was like an eye of newt. And it was just these like really horrific sounding ingredients that are listed in old witch spells. Well, they did that as a code. So they actually took everyday herbs and they code named them and put them in their book under their code name so that they could keep them secret and keep themselves protected, obviously. So I included some of them here. I thought it was kind of fun. Bloody Fingers is actually foxglove. Devil's Eye is henbane. Bat's Wings is hollyleaf. Bull's Blood is horehound. Old Man is mugwort. Graveyard dust. So I just like thinking about doing a spell and you're like adding graveyard dust. It's actually mullein. Eye of newt is mustard seed. Wolf's bane is aconite, which I've never heard of. Lion's tooth is dandelion. Witch's aspirin is willow bark. And fun fact about willow bark, because I use it in some of my products, is that it is the compound that was derived from willow's bark that they actually based pharmaceutical aspirin off of. So when you're taking your aspirin, you have willow bark to thank for that. It's the same compound in both. Devil's apple is belladonna. Fairy wings is lavender. And elf leaf is yarrow. And there's a huge long list of that if you're interested in checking those out, but I just grabbed those ones. So when I was putting this presentation together, this came to mind for me. And it was, sometimes I think magic is just a feeling, a connected feeling to what you're doing and how you're doing it. When you connect deeply with the herbs and their properties in your evening tea that you're basically drinking every single night without probably a lot of thought, the tea is no longer just a beverage, but it's a little pinch of magic. So it's pausing before you're consuming something or before you're, making that soup and just infusing your intention into it, paying attention to what you're using and the gifts that come along with those ingredients. And when you do so, to me, that's magic. So I just wanted to point that out. I myself find such power, as I started by saying, in the ritual and just the paying attention and being present with the everyday things. Once again, I know I already said the disclaimer, but it's really, really important before you start ingesting plants, herbs, and flowers, especially if you're pregnant, have previous medical conditions or are on medication, that you search for contraindications. So people that have an allergy to aspirin products shouldn't be taking willow bark. That's a contraindication for them. There are certain herbs that do not interact with certain medications. So if there's an herb that does something to lower your blood pressure, but you're a person that's actually on medication to kind of like regulate and bring up your blood pressure, that is obviously going to mess with it. So it's really, really important that you just do like a quick search and make sure that whatever you're going to start consuming, whether it's, you're taking supplements or that kind of thing, that you're making sure that it doesn't mess with any of the stuff that you're already doing for your health. All right, so I thought that we would share some of my favorite and very regular herbs and flowers and their profiles. And I wanted to offer this with this session tonight, not only the magical properties, which are obviously very important to me and for Michelle's Magic Hour, but also to share the medicinal properties because I am also an herbalist. So you get both tonight. Sorry. All right, so we're going to start with the bay leaf. And, maybe you're familiar with a bay leaf, dropping it in a soup or a stew, letting it cook in there for a little while, and then removing it before it's done. And maybe that's your complete awareness of a bay leaf. That was mine before I started to use magic. But, ooh, it's a powerful little ingredient. So, magical properties of bay, manifestation. When you buy my manifest candle, there's a bay leaf in there. It's a really, and I have a little tip in here for you when you are manifesting, but it's great for manifestation, prosperity. It's also great for cleansing. So you can take a dried bay leaf and you can light it and use it as a cleansing, smudging type thing. I don't like to use smudging because it's not appropriate, but purification, protection. You're going to see protection pop up over and over and over with these herbs. So these everyday wonderful little herbs sitting there in your cabinet, in a jar, or however you store them, are perfect for creating some protection around your energy. Healing, strength, and psychic development, which is another one that came up over and over again. And one that surprised me a little bit when I did the research because I did not realize how many of these herbs are actually connecting with your third eye, which is beautiful. On a medicinal level, bay leaf is anti-inflammatory, helps to boost your immune system. So when you're adding it to that soup and that stew, just think about these benefits that you're getting out of just throwing it in the pot with the other ingredients. Helps with upset stomachs. It's also good for wound healing, improved memory, inhibits the growth of cancer cells. And that is another thing that you're going to see come up over and over and over again, how beneficial so many of these herbs and these flowers are in fighting against cancer. Supports diabetes, reduces inflammation and pain, and is antimicrobial, which goes along with that wound healing, where it's kind of like getting rid of the germs from the wound. So one of my favorite ways, besides cooking, to use bay leaf is when I have a simmer pot. There is always a bay leaf in there. To me, it's just that, like, it's that manifestation, it's that please make this happen for me ingredient in every single simmer pot. And so you can actually write on your bay leaf what your intention is. You can put as many in there as you want to, write as many intentions on there as you want to, and then you can either burn it and release that intention out through the smoke, or you can add it to your simmer pot. If anybody has any questions, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, please feel free to pop it into the chat, and or we're a small group tonight, so just come out of mute and just feel free to ask your question. Calendula. Calendula is such a pretty flower. It is a member of the sunflower, the daisy family, which you can see the shape of it is very reminiscent of a daisy. To me, it is just sunshine personified in a flower. You may also see it called pot marigold, common marigold, or Scotch marigold. Same thing. The magical properties for calendula: sunshine, brightness, optimism, also protection, prosperity, grace, psychic powers, and prophetic dreams, which is really, really cool. So think about if you're throwing that into a sachet that goes underneath your pillow, if you want to have these dreams that are very prophetic. On a medicinal basis, calendula is in all of my skin products. So it's a topical aid for eczema, psoriasis, burns, wounds, sensitive and dry skin, chafed skin, allergy rashes, and diaper rash. So it's safe for, babies on their diaper rash. My all-purpose healing salve has calendula as one of the base ingredients for it. Also helps to support digestion. So, drinking a cup of tea that includes calendula after a meal. Antimicrobial, so it's fighting those infections when you have it as a topical on your skin. Immune support, reduces inflammation, and is an antioxidant. So some of my favorite ways to use calendula, tea, bath, it's an edible flower. So if you grow calendula and you want to sprinkle it on a salad or something to that effect during the summer, so pretty. And you can also infuse it. It can be an infusion in oil to create those salves, those balms, those kind of things for your skin. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. And just remember those everyday uses I gave you in the beginning, because obviously calendula can go into your simmer pot or any of those other things that I mentioned as your everyday uses of herbs as well. I just didn't include all of those here. Chamomile. I'm sure you're all familiar with chamomile. So chamomile's magical properties wards off negative energy. Abundance, once again. Chamomile actually helps to attract money into you. So if you're doing money spells, chamomile is there for you. Helps with sleep. As you know, it's a very soothing herb. You've probably had chamomile tea to help bring you down a little bit and calm you down. So it's also helpful for comfort, patience, purification, love, protection from the evil eye, and strength in difficult times. So for such a dainty little flower, packs a punch magically. For medicinal purposes, it is great for calming. It's also great for skin health. It shows up in my healing salve. Anti-inflammatory and pain relief. It is a sedative, very gentle one. It's great for kids. So if you think about, a child that's having a hard time getting off to sleep at night, maybe you can convince them to have a little bit of chamomile tea. It's great for toothache relief. So again, very helpful for children. Digestive support, itch relief, antioxidant, fights against cancer, and relieves congestion. So tea is a very, very common thing with chamomile, balms and salves, and those skin products. But definitely not all herbs are great for kids. Again, something that you want to research if you're giving your children herbal remedies. But chamomile is definitely one of them. Like, for example, tea tree oil is not something that a child under, I think it's about 10, should have tea tree oil. Lavender, who doesn't love lavender? Lavender is just such an easy all-purpose little flower, and it's so pretty. So the magical properties of lavender, as you can imagine, are peace, sleep, calm, intelligence, happiness, again with that relaxation, renewal, ease, love, protection, purification, and longevity. And medicinally, again, like a powerhouse, helps to relax your gut, calms your nerves, eases generalized anxiety. So there was actually a study done where they had patients that were using lavender and they were comparing it to patients using benzodiazepine. And this study showed the lavender over a course of a decent amount of time, I don't have the specifics, to be as effective as the benzodiazepine in calming generalized anxiety disorder. a beautiful, beautiful thing. Soothes your skin. This is also an ingredient in my healing salve. Wound healing. It's an antifungal. It helps with hair loss, which I was actually not aware of. So if you have, a hair tonic or something that you're using with lavender essential oil or a lavender of some kind in there, it helps with hair loss. It helps with headaches, acne, and eczema. So lavender, using this, can show up in a tea, very lovely. A pillow sachet is a really nice way. So my Sleep Mojo bag definitely has some lavender in there. Loose leaf incense. So it's basically just a compilation of some dried herbs put together. It's really, really lovely in a loose leaf incense. You can toss some into your bath. Grab one of those little, either reusable bath tea strainers. Put some herbs in there and drop it into your bath so you don't have to scoop all those herbs out after your bath time. It's great diffused and for balms and salves. And I feel like I want to mention here too, if you're diffusing herbs, you want to be careful with pets. So, for example, peppermint is not a good herb to be around pets. So, if you're diffusing in a room that they're hanging out in, same with eucalyptus, those can be harmful to your pets. So, you just want to do a quick search. You can look those up. There are lists. I think Dr. Axe has a list of all pet approved essential oils. So, just something to consider. And balms and salves are another great way to use lavender. I'm going to pause for a quick second. Anybody have any questions? I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good on the coughing. All right. So next we have mugwort, and I wanted to include this one because it's a really powerful herb, but one that I think has such this like weird, I don't know if stigma is the right word, but it definitely comes across as one of those like witchy herbs and maybe something that you need to be careful of, but it's actually really beneficial in so many different ways. And it grows everywhere. It's considered a weed. So like when you're driving down the road and you see all of those, weeds growing up out of the ground on the side of the highway, it's probably mugwort is among them at least. So mugwort is really great for divinity, connecting with higher power and getting information that way. So lucid dreaming is another way. Psychic ability, which makes sense, awakening your intuition, your third eye. For strength, protection, healing. It helps to amplify whatever you're working on. So if you're using it in a spell, if you're putting it in a simmer pot, in a spell jar, it's amplifying the process for you. And also astral projection, if that's something that you're into. For medicinally, mugwort is great for pain relief. It is good for indigestion. It is good for intestinal parasites. It is very helpful for PMS in terms of easing muscle cramps and bloating. So nice to be in like a moon cycle type blend for tea. Helps to decongest the liver, calms anxiety, and helps to ease depression. So again, you can use this in a tea form. Add that to your sleep sachet with your lavender and your crystals and put that under your pillow. It's beautiful to burn as a loose leaf or a smudge stick incense. You can add it to your bath. And I came across this and a suggestion to hang it in your windows or your doorways for that protection, so that it's kind of like putting up a little bit of a barrier for you and making sure that the energy coming in and out of your home is good. So this is one of those examples of like just being aware of the side effects of herbs. If you're using it for PMS and you are someone that experiences a really heavy period, it can bring on heavier periods. So it may even intensify your period even more. And that's just something for you to consider and be aware of. All right, oregano. Oregano is like, I love oregano. I love oregano oil. It is a natural antibiotic. It is in my vapor rub that I've been putting on my chest over and over again. Anytime I've ever felt an infection coming on, and again, this is not medical advice, but just my experience, I will take some oregano oil capsules, and it avoids me having to go on antibiotics so far every time, knock on wood. Magical properties of oregano, it attracts prosperity, strength, courage, happiness, luck. So all really, really beautiful, positive energy, and wards off negative energy. Oregano is actually referred to as joy from the mountain. Medicinally, it's an antibacterial, antimicrobial, antioxidant. It can help manage your diabetes. It is an expectorant for your cough to help you like pass that stuff. It's a wound healer. It's helps treat cancer and a pain reliever. So obviously, cooking with oregano is a beautiful way to use it. If you're making that chicken soup when you're not feeling well and you have a cold, put a little bit of oregano in there. It's great for sobs. It's good for tea. I mean, it has a very, very strong flavor. If you've ever had it on its own, you know that. And it's funny because when you do put it on, if you put it on solo, you will smell like a pizza. I've sent my kids off to school before with their oregano oil and they smell like pizza. Um, and also, you know, an oil infusion for ingestion. So you can buy, I actually have some right here, some oil of oregano, Mary Ruth's brand. And you can take that. It is a warming herb. So if you take an oil and you ingest it, make sure you're taking something that is meant to be ingested. You're going to feel the burn. Just a heads up. But it is definitely one of my go-tos medicinally for sure. Peppermint, lovely, lovely peppermint. I grow all forms of peppermint in the summer, and it is one of my favorite fresh herb teas. I will just go out and pick a whole bunch of it. I will put it in my French press. I will pour some hot water over it. I'll let it steep for a little while, and it is so incredibly beautiful. So if you've never had a fresh herb tea before, I suggest trying it with peppermint. Magically, it helps with concentration, increased focus, renewal, cleansing, purification, psychic powers, love spells, and it boosts your energy. So if you're starting a new project, peppermint is a great ingredient to use in your spell bottles, your simmer pots, your diffuser, however you're using that herb. Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to help pull in all of that goodness into something new. Medicinally, digestive aid, so some peppermint tea after a meal if you're not feeling the greatest. It helps to alleviate IBS. It helps with headaches and migraines, so it's the primary ingredient in my headache rollerball. Alleviates seasonal allergies. It's an anti-inflammatory. Again, a remedy for bowel problems, flatulence, and indigestion. So I cannot overvalue, sorry, a cup of peppermint tea after a meal. Helps to boost energy, helps to relieve menstrual cramps, and enhances that concentration and focus. So I saw a suggestion actually that I hadn't thought of before of including it in a sachet that maybe you put over your eyes. So if you think about this with a headache, that would be super, super helpful, right? Or even if it's just a time of rest when you're working on something to help that concentration, to help that focus. So I wanted to include that because I liked that idea. It's great for like an essential oil roller ball, again, for those headaches, those migraines. Be careful around your eyes using it because it will make them tear up if it's too close. And helping with that concentration and that focus. Can use it as a tea, my absolute favorite. Even if you have a plant and you just pick off a leaf, you can chew on that. It'll help you have fresh breath. We are flying through this, and I'm sorry if I'm going too fast tonight. If anybody has any questions, let me know. All right, so rose. Rose is like, again, it's a powerhouse for something so common. It's a very, very powerful flower. It is the flower of the heart. So if you think of anything having to do with your heart, both magically and medically, attraction, romance, self-love, determination, self-confidence, forgiveness, transformation, luck, happiness, trust, psychic powers, healing, and protection. I mean, like, could you come up with a better list than that? Of magical properties for something. So rose is great for spell bottles. It's great for bath soaks. It is great, again, to throw in a simmer pot if you want to put that energy out there into your space. It would be great for like a roller ball so that you're getting the scent of the rose throughout the day. There are just so many ways that you can use rose. I actually did not even come close to covering all of those ways in the slide. Medicinally, it is enriched with so many vitamins. It helps to reduce high levels of adrenaline and cortisol. So again, if you think like heart, it's relaxing to the mind and the nervous system, helps to relieve constipation, supports recovery from grief, sadness, or loss. It helps with those cardiovascular issues, whether it's a weak heart, inefficient vessels, or arteries. Helps with congestion. Again, you're thinking about that heart space and a sore throat. And it helps to relieve menstrual pain. So again, it's a great ingredient for maybe a moon cycle tea. So you can use rose water, you can use it in tea form. You can use it in baking, like so many beautiful recipes use an essence of rose of some sort in their recipes, syrups, serums for your face, for your body. Again, that scent is like so great, and for your bath would be another really beautiful way to use rose. But when you think rose, think heart, which makes total sense, and that will steer you in the right direction. Rosemary, one of my favorite herbs of all time. So as you can see here, I included avoid during pregnancy and nursing, and if you have a history of seizures. So you wouldn't think twice about rosemary. I mean, it's something you can buy in the grocery store. But if you are taking it and you're using it regularly, you need to make sure that you're aware that if you're pregnant, you want to discontinue using it throughout your pregnancy. And if you have seizures, not to use it. So the magical properties of rosemary. Rosemary is kind of one of those herbs that if you need an herb and you're out of whatever it is, you could probably replace it with rosemary and be good to go. So it's kind of like a one size fits all for herbal magic. It's great for health, purification, protection, love and loyalty. Very, very good for remembrance, which we'll see in a second with the medicinal. It's so cool. Clarity, alertness, lust, mental powers, and fertility. So it's great for before you get pregnant, just not once you get pregnant. And if you look at that list, like it's just so all encompassing there. So it's definitely one that you can fill in whenever you need to. Medicinally, it's great for brain health. It helps defend against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, helps with short-term memory support, helps with focus and alertness. It's an antioxidant, helps protect your liver, supports colds, sore throats, and fever. I'm fairly certain I have rosemary in here. Yes, I do. Digestion and immune support. It helps with hair growth. So if you're looking to boost your hair growth, use like a rosemary oil treatment, or like rosemary water. You can infuse water and spray it on your hair. Helps prevent cancer and helps with stress reduction. So again, this is like a super powerhouse. So you can use it if you're using it for protection, like a burn bundle would be a great way to do that. Add it to your pillow sachet that you're putting under your pillow, because it's going to help with all that memory stuff. It's going to help with all of your boosting your brain power. You can use it in teas. You can use it certainly in cooking. And that hair growth serum, which is on my list of products to make. Something that people have actually noted to me many times that they were interested in. When you think magic, one of the herbs that I go to automatically is sage. So I had to include it on the list. Sage magically helps with wisdom, helps with grief support. It helps with health, longevity, protection, and helps your wishes come true. And I know it's also a very good cleansing herb as well. I did not include that in the list. Medicinally, it's great for your immunity. It is great for cancer prevention. Cognitive improvement, it goes hand in hand with rosemary. So if you want to combine the two in some sort of, whether you're diffusing it or something like that, also helpful for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Improving the memory, reduces anxiety and depression, helps to manage your cholesterol and blood sugar, helps with attention, facilitates learning, boosts brain function, is an anti-inflammatory and an antimicrobial. Specifically, I saw a lot of mention for oral health. So sage, add it to your cooking, brew tea with sage, your burn bundles. I'm sure you've seen sage as a burn bundle, and great for that loose leaf incense. You can diffuse it, all of those other things that we mentioned early on. And we are rounding out the list with one of my all-time favorite magical ingredients, because it's just so easy to incorporate cinnamon, in my opinion. So magically, cinnamon helps increase spirituality. It helps with abundance. It helps with power, success, love and lust, protection. It draws in money to you, purification, divine connection, and luck. Cinnamon is in my manifest candles. It is also in my good fortune, I believe, as well. Medicinally, it's an anti-inflammatory, an antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral. It helps to decrease your blood sugar. It helps to improve your insulin sensitivity. And it also has beneficial effects on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and also is good for wound healing. So every single morning when I brew my cup of coffee, I sprinkle in some cinnamon. Sometimes I will do a little sigil, a little symbol, to make it a little bit more magical, and I will stir in my intention with my cinnamon. It's so great for manifestation. So it's kind of that little added boost. And it's what we were talking about earlier with that, like, everyday magic, and just connecting a little bit more deeply with something to create that magic for yourself. Obviously, cooking and baking, we all love our cinnamon in there. I do a little ritual, and I have posted this before, maybe you've seen it, but on the first of the month, if you would like to go to your front door of your home or where you live, and you take your palm of your hand and you sprinkle some ground cinnamon in there. You have your front door open, you're standing outside of it, and you do a little wish, a little spell, if you care to call it that, asking for abundance to come your way over the coming month, welcoming in anything that is going to serve your highest good. And I always like to thank the universe ahead of time. So I do that as part of my ritual. And then you just blow your cinnamon in through the front door, and that will help bring all that abundance into you every single month. So at the first of the month, it doesn't have to be done on the first of the month. If you miss it on the first, you can do it on the second, but it's a nice, easy way to remember to do your little ritual. And that is it for our herb profiles and our flower profiles. I wanted to make sure I used pretty common ones. Again, things that like you'd open up your spice cabinet and you'd have them there for you. If you were intrigued by this, if you liked learning about the magical properties, the list of herbs and flowers and spices that you can be using for your everyday magic is like almost feels limitless. So I included some of the books here that I used for my own research and that you might find helpful. Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham is a classic, and it has like, it's just an entire book filled with herbs and flowers for magic. Some of these skew a little bit more towards medicinal, while others skew a little bit more towards witchy, but they both kind of like covered both a little bit. So that's there for you if you're interested in continuing your education on this. I always thank the people that come and join these events that I put on. So here's 10% off to the apothecary. You can use code MAGIC at checkout. And that is just my little thank you for being here with me, because I appreciate it. I appreciate your energy. And our next magic hour that is coming up is actually going to be spell jars. So what's really cool about this next session is that we're going to take information from like basically our last 3 magic hours and put them all together for spell jars. And I will be giving an upgrade option. All of the Michelle's magic hours are free to join, but I'm putting together a kit. I am selling for $25, and essentially you're going to be able to put your own spell jars together, whether it's through our session together or after the fact, whatever you want to do. But the kit's going to come with the jars. It's going to come with herbs and flowers and crystals and charms and more and more. Sorry. So it's coming up next month, February 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. It's on the website already, so if you want to go in and sign up for that, you can. And if you missed any of our past Michelle's Magic Hours and you're interested in going back and seeing any of those, our first one was on crystals. Our second one was on candle magic, and this is our third one on herbs and flowers. You can actually go in under the Raven and Dove Apothecary tab on my website. You will see Michelle's Magic Hour listed, and you can click on that, and all the previous recordings and presentations are there if you wanted to go back and check any of those out. All right, before we wrap up, does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to share? Any insights? I hope that you're all stirring some cinnamon into your coffee in the morning, or brewing up a cup of herbal tea maybe before bed with some lovely chamomile and lavender in there, and getting some really beautiful, maybe a little bit of mugwort, and having a beautiful night's sleep and incorporating this magic into your life every day. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see y'all next time. Oh, thank you, Suchi. Oh, thank you, Izzy. All right, good night.